The voices of the past still echo through the sacred pages. Across deserts and seas, fishermen and kings, a gallery of men who changed history stands tall. Among them, a subtle, almost hidden name, Bartholomew. Who was this man who walked alongside Jesus, yet whose name few remember? The silence around his life transforms into mystery, and the mystery into revelation. Every forgotten detail hides a treasure for those who seek faith. The Bible doesn't spend many words on Bartholomew, but that doesn't diminish his greatness. On the contrary, it makes him even more fascinating, like a quiet flame burning in the dark. In times of noise and haste, this apostle's life reminds us that power doesn't always lie in speaking, but in remaining steadfast, even without spotlights. A testimony that crosses centuries, touching the hearts of those who listen. Today, we dive into the journey of this quiet yet unwavering man. Discover his roots, his mission, his miracles, his courage in the face of death, and above all, the lessons his life offers to us. Prepare yourself for a deep journey where history and faith intertwine. And as we move forward, share in the comments what inspires you most about Jesus' disciples. Perhaps Bartholomew will spark a new chapter in your own path. Bartholomew was born in ancient lands where the sun scorched the skin and the wind carried stories of generations. A man forged between glimmers of hope and shadows of trials. Before meeting Jesus, he walked through simple routines, perhaps fishing, perhaps trading goods, yet always with a restless heart. His world was small, but his dreams stretched as far as the horizon beyond the sea. In his youth, he felt the silent call of something greater, a voice pulsing like an insistent tide within him. Every step toward faith was a step away from the comfort of certainty. Daily life seemed ordinary, but God was weaving his story in invisible details. Bartholomew didn't know it yet, but he was called to walk paths no one could foresee. And so, the first thread of his story intertwines with other extraordinary destinies. Each encounter along his life would become a stepping stone toward the mystery of the next chapter. What moved Bartholomew to leave everything behind and follow such a radical teacher? The answer draws near as we encounter the first great turning point of his life. Everything changed the moment Bartholomew met Jesus' gaze. A quiet meeting, yet capable of setting the soul ablaze with an unexplainable certainty. There were no trumpets or grand signs, only the majestic calm of one who knew every heart. In that instant, Bartholomew's world began to expand. Jesus doesn't choose the ones who shine, but those willing to listen to the call. And in that simple man, he found the perfect vessel to plant eternal seeds. Bartholomew felt, perhaps for the first time, the conviction that his life would never be the same. Every word of Jesus seemed to map invisible paths, bridges over unknown seas. And when the invitation came, "Follow me," there was no hesitation. There was, instead, a quiet surrender, a trust only the brave dare to experience. By accepting the call, Bartholomew became more than a disciple. He became a witness. Every step alongside Jesus prepared him for trials beyond the ordinary, revealing the man behind the apostle. But what did Bartholomew see and hear in those first days with Jesus? How did that closeness shape his courage and faith? The answer unfolds below. Among 12 men, Bartholomew was quiet, yet his presence was as solid as a rock. He didn't seek applause, but carried a silent strength that supported the others. While Peter spoke, James fidgeted, and John reflected, Bartholomew listened. He understood that every gesture of Jesus was a lesson, every word a seed for the future. He may not have spoken often, but his faith spoke volumes. And in his simplicity, he reflected the power of trusting without proving anything. The apostle's story teaches that one need not be first or the most visible. Faithfulness alone can move mountains. Bartholomew was faithful in the smallest details, in the silences many overlook. Amid debates, miracles, and journeys through unknown cities, he became a point of balance. Like one who knows the strength of the wind, he knew when to act and when to merely support. As he began to grasp the weight of his calling, Bartholomew realized being an apostle wasn't just following. It was carrying a responsibility that would echo through time. But what molded his character even further were the miracles he witnessed. These profound experiences transformed him from within. Bartholomew watched the blind see for the first time, and with each awakened gaze, his own heart lit up. Every miracle was more than a sign. It was an invitation to trust without reservation. He witnessed the paralyzed rise, as if the weight of the world were lifted from their shoulders. In those moments, he understood that Jesus healed more than bodies. He freed souls. From the miracles, Bartholomew learned that the impossible isn't a barrier, but a canvas for God's glory. The ordinary became extraordinary before his eyes. And in the parables, he found nourishment for faith. Simple words spoken by the wayside hid deep, eternal truths, like seeds sown in the soil of the soul. Each lesson shaped his mind and warmed his spirit. Bartholomew learned not just to look to heaven, but to see the divine in every human gesture. These experiences didn't just transform Bartholomew, they prepared him to become a living witness. But what awaited him when the storm of fear and persecution drew near? Surrounded by suspicious glances and silent threats, Bartholomew did not retreat. His faith was an invisible shield, forged by Jesus' presence at every step. When whispers of persecution arose, he didn't hide, but walked steadily. Each challenge was a chance to prove that courage springs from conviction. He watched friends drift away, disbelieved or persecuted, yet fear never claimed his heart. Faith was stronger than any shadow of danger. Bartholomew learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but acting despite it. Every silent act of bravery reshaped history around him. Amid threats, he continued teaching, helping, and spreading the light he had received. Every small gesture became a beacon in the darkness. And as he grasped that persecution was part of the mission, Bartholomew prepared for even bolder steps. How would he face the unknown beyond the borders of Palestine? Bartholomew left his homeland, crossing seas and deserts, carrying not gold, but a message that would transform lives. Every step echoed Jesus' voice in his soul. In foreign lands, he encountered diverse peoples and cultures, and even without common words or traditions, his faith spoke louder than any barrier. He shared stories and miracles, not to impress, but to ignite hope in hearts thirsty for meaning. Each encounter was an invitation to the divine. The journey was grueling. Physical exhaustion mingled with tense, wary stares. Yet the flame in Bartholomew never flickered. In every city, he sowed invisible seeds that would bloom in generations to come. His mission knew no limits, fear, or borders. And as he traveled this solitary path, Bartholomew realized that true greatness lies not in conquering lands, but in touching souls. What extreme trials awaited him next? Bartholomew faced dangers beyond the physical: persecution, betrayal, and the silence of those who couldn't understand his mission. Every obstacle tested the fiber of his faith. In cities where he was a stranger, every word and gesture carried risk. Yet he pressed on, propelled by a conviction stronger than fear. Loneliness often felt overwhelming, but Bartholomew found strength in prayer and the memory of Jesus' teachings. His soul became an unbreakable refuge. Even in the face of doubt from others, he stood firm. Every challenge reinforced the quiet courage known only to those who walk in true faith. Bartholomew's faith did not bow to storms. It expanded, illuminating paths for those around him. Each trial engraved a lesson deep in his heart. Thus, his life teaches that tests aren't just to survive, but to reveal the strength lying dormant within us. How would he channel this faith into miracles touching countless lives? Bartholomew didn't just carry faith. He made it alive in every gesture, every word spoken with the authority of conviction. Each encounter became a seed of transformation. He healed the sick, comforted the afflicted, and inspired hope where all seemed lost. His presence made the divine tangible. Every miracle wasn't merely a display of power, but a bridge between human and heavenly. Bartholomew became a channel for a light that never fades. People followed him, not out of curiosity, but drawn to the brilliance of truth emanating from his soul. Each story shared lit faith in distant hearts. Even amidst disbelief, he persisted, knowing every life touched was part of a greater plan. His courage and compassion were inseparable. Yet even among miracles, challenges arose, proving that faith and perseverance walk hand in hand. The next chapter shows how he stood firm until the end. Bartholomew knew following faith could cost his life, and yet he walked with the serenity of one who understands the mission's value. Every step was a quiet offering. His sacrifice wasn't only physical. It was the complete surrender of heart, courage, and hope in every soul he touched. He became an eternal example of devotion. Even before death, his faith didn't waver. Bartholomew proved that courage isn't absence of fear, but steadfast trust in something greater. The legacy he left isn't measured in monuments, but in transformed lives, stories retold, and seeds of hope that have spanned generations. In every prayer, in every act of kindness inspired by his story, Bartholomew lives on, reminding us that faith is action, not just words. And as we reflect on his journey, we hear the echo of his courage in ourselves. How can the story of an apostle light our own path? The next step is ours. Bartholomew reminds us that faith isn't distant. It's a beacon illuminating every choice, every gesture in our daily lives. His example spans centuries. Even in the face of challenges, he teaches quiet courage, persistent effort that turns small actions into monumental change. His life invites us to look inward, to recognize that true strength arises from surrender and trust in the unseen. Every story, miracle, and sacrifice of Bartholomew reminds us we're called to be light, even in the darkest moments. Reflecting on his journey, we see that faith isn't just about grand deeds, but in steady, attentive love we spread around us. And feeling this inspiration, the invitation is to carry forward that courage, perseverance, and hope. How can we turn an apostle's story into light for our own journey? It is a silent call to transcend the ordinary. Every step reminds us that faith is practice, courage, and love intertwined. He walked through deserts and cities, faced dangers and trials, and yet left a legacy that spans centuries. A legacy of hope still pulsing today. Bartholomew shows us that we don't need to be famous or eloquent. Being faithful, steadfast, and generous with our gifts is enough. His story inspires those seeking meaning and strength in uncertain times. He challenges us to act, even when the path is hard and the world seems silent. And now, reflecting on his journey, each of us can ask, how can I be light in the lives around me? How can I turn faith into concrete action? If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts, experiences, or inspirations in the comments. Share this video, help others discover Bartholomew, and follow us to continue this epic journey of faith and courage. God bless your life.